Welcome to another episode of the Solo Marketing Podcast. Today, I'm thrilled to introduce a guest who has not only revolutionized the marketing world, but has also achieved what most authors can only dream of. Allan Dib, the mastermind behind the one-page marketing plan, the ultimate cheat sheet, and lean marketing, which is also the name of his successful business, has seen his work translated into 32 languages, earning him a spot in the top 0.01% of nonfiction books globally. And if that's not impressive enough, he's also a big deal in Mexico, where strategies have truly made waves. Allan, it's an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. How you
Hey,
doing, Allan?
hey, Shane, how are you?
Good. Welcome to my podcast. I'm so excited to have you on my show. And my show is all about the author. We talk about some of your books that you've written, and then we also talk about perhaps some books that are in your favorite category. Maybe it's a must category,
Sure,
and we'll just kind of go from there. I'll just ask you some questions because my audience is basically
awesome.
solopreneurs that like reading marketing books and like learning how to make things lean and mean.
Love it,
So
love it.
perhaps tell me a little bit of what have you been up to lately?
So, what I've been up to in the last month, I've been traveling a lot. So, I've been traveling throughout the United States and Canada. I've been attending events. I've been speaking at various events. So, I've had a really nice time traveling. I'm now back home, which is nice. So, after over a month on the road. And yeah, catching up with some messages, catching up with some podcast guest interviews and things like that, and catching up with my team. So that's what I've
Nice.
been up to. Bigger picture, we lean marketing. My second book came out in May, and that's been going very, very strong. Lots of people have been enjoying it, and there's been some really great reviews. Oh, there it is, of course.
I love this.
So
I picked up your first book. Don't ask me how I came across your book because honestly, I don't know. I was on Kindle, and sometimes, when you read one book, you get recommends.
yeah,
And I came across this book called the one page marketing plan.
yeah.
And I opened it up, and one of the things that attracted me to your book, and maybe we can talk about this, is I looked at the page and it says, get new customers, make more money, and stand out from the crowd. Your book, the cover stands out. It pops. I don't know. Was that on purpose?
That was on
Because it,
purpose. I tested many different colors. And at the time, I mean, this was a few years ago, very few business books were sort of bright yellow. More and more have started using that color recently. But yeah, at the time that was very unusual. And yeah, that was very much intentional. I tested different colors on a bookstore bookshelf, and that popped the most.
yeah, and it stood out to me. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to read this book. And as soon as I read a chapter, I'm like, this is the most amazing marketing book that I've ever read. And I've read a few. I'm not making this stuff up. I've read a lot of books, a
What
lot
what
of
what was it
marketing
that
books.
what was it that stood out to you the most? What made you feel that way?
The thing that jumped out at me is the simplicity. When you start talking about a one-page marketing plan,
Hmm.
all of a sudden, it was like all the books that I read on marketing, sales, all this stuff. All of a sudden, the light bulb came on
Yeah,
because you read all these other books,
yeah.
but they're either in this category, like how to be a really good salesperson. Okay, cool. How to sell the most cars, like shatter the Guinness Book of World Records, like Joe Girard. Okay, cool. How does that help me today by myself? I don't sell cars. And
Hmm.
then you go to this book and that book and this. And then all of a sudden I come across yours and you mean I don't have to write 200 pages for my marketing plan? I
Yeah.
could do it on one page. I was hooked
Love
and
it.
I read it that day, and that's when I decided to build this YouTube channel, because
Amazing.
you lit a fire under me, and I'm like, man, if I can get Allan Dib on here to talk about his book, like
And you
I
did.
just got, yeah, and it worked, right? Like it's amazing that you can actually be able to, and I think there's a lesson somewhere in there. Maybe you could dive into this a bit, but you don't know me from a hole in the ground. You know
Totally.
zero about me. I only know about you because I read your book.
Yeah.
And I spent 6 hours in your book, and I feel like I understand a little bit more about Allan Dib. It's
Yeah.
almost like a business card that explodes, you
Totally.
know?
That's exactly what it is. Um,
So maybe tell me a little bit about the reasoning behind creating the one-page marketing plan.
so exactly as you said, I came from a technical background. I didn't have any background in marketing. I had a tech business at the time. And I needed to get more clients, and that was a struggle for me. And as you say, I read all the books. I went to all the seminars. I found everything pretty complicated and difficult. And so I spent probably about a decade really learning marketing just through trial and error, mostly error. And so I thought there's really got to be a better way for other people to learn marketing who are in my shoes. And there are many people in my shoes who just never had any kind of background in marketing. They've just got a business. They want to sell some product or some service, and they're not experts at marketing, and they need to figure this stuff out. So that's one of the reasons that I came up with the one-page marketing plan process. Then I made it a book, and I intentionally made it very, very simple. Like literally in the book, we define what is marketing, what is branding, what is all of this stuff that a lot of books just assume that you understand this stuff. So I wanted to put it in a very simple way, in a way that literally anybody could understand. And a lot of people appreciated that. And kudos to you for taking action, because you can read all the books, you can attend all the seminars, you can do all the stuff. If you don't do anything about it, you're not going to have any more result than someone who doesn't know anything. So
Yeah.
well done to you. And it's also a lesson in I've found that most of the stuff that you want in life, in business, is just on the other side of asking. So you asked me to be on your channel, and here I am. And I found most people never get to the point where they just ask for what they want,
Yeah.
and so I think it really is as simple as that. And that's really a theme for me for the year, to ask what I want when I want something. So
Yeah.
that's something that we've kind of been conditioned to not really do much, but it's
Yeah.
really something that's kind of the secret of some of the biggest performers in the world.
Yeah. And I've never done that before, because I was always thinking, I need to get 1,000 subscribers, or I need to get 100,000 subscribers, or 1,000,000 before I could reach out and talk to anyone. I thought I
Yeah,
had to build everything, make it perfect
yeah,
first,
yeah,
then start reaching out. And I thought, well, that's not what Allan says.
yeah,
Allan doesn't say that.
yeah.
He's got to, you get what you negotiate, you don't
You
get
get
what you deserve.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So, good on you. That's so good that you've just taken action. And look, it's not always going to work. Sometimes someone will say no, but that's kind of the
Exactly.
worst case scenario. But most of the time, and I've spent the last month with some of the highest performers on the planet. Like literally, I was in a room with people who are billionaires, who are worth hundreds of millions of dollars, other authors who've sold millions of books. And by and large, the vast majority of them are very nice people, very open. If you ask them something reasonable, they're very, very highly likely to say yes. So this, people and things and resources are much more accessible than people imagine.
Yeah. Yeah. And I thought it was unreasonable for me to ask you if I didn't buy any of your stuff,
I
is how
appreciate
I
that.
felt. So I thought, I read the book, and then I loved it so much, I read this book
Nice.
the next day. So 2 books in 1 week. And then I was watching your YouTube channel when you were talking about another book that you liked, and you recommended another gentleman named Dave Jennings.
Yeah.
Jennings.
Yeah.
So I read his book on systemology.
Yeah.
I knocked that one out of the park. So 3 books
Nice.
in 1 week.
Amazing.
So here's the funny story. I used you as leverage. I said, I wrote an email to his assistant,
Yeah.
and I said, Allan is coming on my show in the future in like a week or so. Would you be interested in coming on my show sometime in the future?
Nice.
Sometime, right?
Nice.
She reached back to me and she said, could you send me a booking link and I'll send you a media kit? And I'm like, a booking link? I don't even have anything. So I had to look at Calendly, set it all up, and then I sent it to Dave. And then I put it 30 days out so he can book it whenever he wants, 5 days a week into the future. And he booked for the middle of September. So he's going to
Amazing.
be on this channel.
Amazing. Amazing. Well, I'm catching up with Dave for dinner on Saturday, so I'll be sure
Tell
to
him I said hi. He won't
I
know
will.
me. He won't. I promise you, he will not know me. But his
That's great.
assistant helped book him on my channel,
That's
and
great.
I think there's something to be said about, again, leverage. Because I read his book, I felt like I was okay to say, hey, between here and infinity, consider jumping on my channel
Yeah.
somewhere.
Totally.
Your friend has been or will be on my channel. He's agreed to
Amazing.
come on. And then now I'm going to use leverage between you guys because Dave referred a guy that he really likes, which was Gino Wickman for Traction.
Nice.
So I
Nice.
reached out to them and I said, hey, right? So it's kind of funny how you just kind of build the momentum upon
Yeah.
one ask, really,
Totally.
at the end of the day. And then I'm hoping to kind of stay inside this circle of building I want to build my reputation and my authority, because I think after a while what people will go, well, this guy's actually reading their books. I didn't feel it was fair to bring you on and go, tell me about your book and I don't know anything about you and I will read your book one day in the future. I don't
Yeah.
think that's fair. I don't
Yeah.
think
I
that's
agree.
fair to
I
do that.
agree. That's great.
So the simplicity again of your book was what jumped out at me, and maybe because again my audience is going to be solopreneurs. They say statistically, I think it's like 80% of people work alone, or
They
2
do.
people, or 3, or less than 10.
Yeah.
So what is the one thing? Well, you know what? Let me instead of going really off the cuff, let me just read a couple of questions that I have for you, and then that way you could feel like you want to reject the question or you can answer the question. All right. So first question, keep it real simple. Do you read a lot?
I don't know if I would say a lot, but at minimum half an hour a day. So I don't know. Is that a lot? I don't know. To some it's a
Okay.
lot, to some it's not. But yeah, usually minimum of half an hour a day. I try to get an hour in, but I don't always. Sometimes I've got commitments in the morning. But yeah, I definitely value my reading time.
The only reason why I brought that up is because you mentioned a bunch of authors in your book
Sure.
that you've kind of gleaned off of, or somebody that has actually personally mentored you sometime in the past.
Yeah.
So on a scale of 1 to 10, how important is it for, again, solopreneurs, if they're just trying to figure this stuff out, how important is it for them to start reading books?
Well, books have been my best mentor. I mean, someone can spend 10 years researching something or sharing their hard-won experience and things that they've spent millions of dollars doing, and share it with you for $20 or even less if you buy it on Kindle or audiobook or whatever. I think it's the most incredible bargain in the world. So you can take someone's mind and brain and implant it in yours, and that they may not even be around anymore. They may have been around 100 years ago, 50 years ago, or whenever. So I think books are the most incredible technology ever, and they're an incredible bargain. I mean, imagine someone said, I'm going to give you 10 years worth of my experience, and just implant it in your mind. I mean, what would that be worth? Definitely more than $20.
Yeah, for sure. 100%, like a 1,000 times more. So this next question is kind of a 2-part question.
Sure.
It's going to sound a little weird at first, but
Okay.
do you believe in a multiverse?
So when you say multiverse, do you mean like parallel universes and things
Yeah,
like that?
like here's the second part of this question.
Sure.
Do you ever imagine that somewhere out there is another version of Allan Dib writing a book that you wish you started?
I think so. So I've been following a lot and learning a little bit about quantum mechanics, consciousness, all of that sort of thing. And, there's nothing definitive, nothing proven or whatever. But I think there is something to potentially a lot of parallel universes, a lot of parallel timelines where every possible combination of what could happen happens. So I would say the answer is yes, without having a lot of tons of proof behind it, and sort of just a gut feeling that I think that there is kind of like every combination of every possible thing that could happen that happens in parallel. And I think our definition of what the past, what the present, what the future is kind of a little bit too linear, whereas in reality, I think it's almost maybe like one thing kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. And the reason why I bring that up is because there's times where you'll see somebody like on Shark Tank or something, and they'll have this crazy invention. You're like, I thought about that. Why didn't I do that? So that's why I mentioned like a book. Is there a book either out there, or is there a book that you wish you would have written 10 years ago, 20 years ago? Or is the one page marketing plan, is that book?
Well, the one page marketing plan is the book I wish I had when I was first learning marketing. In terms of a book I wish I had written, I think almost every nonfiction author would probably say like Atomic Habits, because again, it's so simple, so applicable to everybody. It's been so successful. James Clear's done such a good job, and a lot of the content is stuff that I did have in my mind. It is stuff that I did do in real practice. I'm not saying that he didn't bring anything new. Of course, he did,
Mhm.
but a lot of it is he basically did a lot, pretty much what I did in marketing is compiled some of the best ideas, put them together, simplified them in an easy to understand way. So, if I had to pick one, I'd say probably Atomic Habits.
Yeah, that's a good book. I've read that one as well. It's
It
actually
is a good book.
fantastic. It actually helped me build habits to read a little bit faster as well. And it starts with my coffee mug in the morning.
Nice,
So when I wake up, I go downstairs. When I turn on my coffee pot and I put the coffee mug,
nice,
I'm already thinking about sitting down to read for like an hour or so
amazing,
a book. That
amazing.
triggers a habit. So if I smell coffee, I'm thinking
I
about books because that's been my habit for the past 2.5 years every
love
morning.
it. It's so good.
So, and that I got that from Atomic Habits, where he said just build something in so that it becomes a habit, and then that can trigger something else out of it, whether good or
Love it.
bad.
Love it.
So,
That is so good.
yeah, it's a great book. So, okay, why one page marketing plan? Why the one page marketing plan? And would you write it again?
Yeah, I would absolutely write it again. I think I heard Seth Godin say the book that most changes your life is the book you write. And so I would
Mm,
absolutely say the one page marketing plan. And I mean, it's still early for lean marketing because it's only been out for a few months, but the one page marketing plan has absolutely changed my life because of it, I've met people I never would have met. I've had clients I never would have had. I've been invited to speak on podcasts and in person and at events that I never would have. So it's just opened so many doors, but more importantly, it's helped so many people. It's helped over 1 million entrepreneurs worldwide get clarity around their marketing. And
yeah,
every single day, um, in my email inbox, I get people thanking me, giving their feedback, telling me how it's changed their business, changed their lives. So it's something that's had a lot of impact. So I'm very proud of it, and it's something that I'm really glad that I did, and I'm going to continue to share some of my insights and help simplify business and marketing for people.
yeah, no, that's good. I think there's something special. There's something magical about having a book versus any other type of asset. And I might be mixing your two books together, just so you know, because
Sure.
I read them back to back.
Yeah.
But I remember you mentioning that you went into a pitch, and I can't remember if it was for a book or for business.
Yeah.
And in the pitch, you basically were coming in after someone else that was pitching, but they didn't have a book.
Yeah.
And when you came in, they were all like, "Can I have your autograph?"
Yeah. Totally.
So there's something magical about being an author and
Yeah.
having your very own, how did you describe it? It was an not an asset that keeps on giving, but there's something about it that it's building your business for you while you sleep.
Yeah. Yeah, I call it a flagship asset. So it's something that
Right.
you're going to be famous for, that you're well known for. And like I said, yeah, I mean, when you're an author, author is in the word authority, and people treat
Mm,
you like an authority, and kind of rightly so, I think, for the most part. I mean, not every book is amazing, but someone who's put years of their life into putting together an idea, a framework, putting it together in a simple form that's easy to understand. I mean, there's someone who deeply thought about whatever topic it is, and I think it is only right to treat them as an authority in that area. Like I said, not every book is that well thought out and that well done, but a lot of them are. And so I think it's if someone's spent that time and effort and even money. I mean, it takes a lot of money to write a good book, because there's editors, there's typesetting, there's all sorts of stuff involved behind the scenes that a lot of people never think about. Then it is something that is worthwhile, and it is something worth paying attention to. So for me, like I said, I think books are one of the best bargains in the world. They're something that are extremely valuable, and you can literally get into the mind of the author and understand what they were trying to do.
yeah, no, that's important. And you mentioned something about authority. Have you ever heard of the rare theory?
No, I haven't.
That's okay because I just made it up. It's basically I uh, I call it rare, but it's spelled RAIIR, and
Okay,
it's basically how I'm also thinking about my business. And basically, I rate my reputation from 0 to 10.
sure,
I rate my authority,
sure,
my influence, my integrity, and my resilience on a
love it,
scale from 0 to 10. And right now, my reputation is about a 2, as in nobody knows me. They
sure,
don't know me yet. So I'm
sure,
working on that.
sure,
My authority, same thing. I don't have a book, but I'm at about a 2.
sure.
Influence halfway, because I
Hmm.
have another channel that has about 7,000 subscribers, and
Nice,
I do live streams on there. So my influence on that channel is actually decent for me. I'm a partner with Google.
nice,
My integrity, I would say I'm like about an 8. I could be better. I'm
nice,
honest. I'm truthful. Everything that I do.
sure.
And my resilience is about a 6, because I cave a lot of times. I give up too easy.
Okay,
So my goal is to try and get that to a 10. And I think then, if you're a 10 out of 10 as an authority, or as someone that has authority, you could now be affluent. Like it just pushes it up. So my reputation plan is to basically have guests like yourself on here.
hmm,
And then when someone else sees us talking, they're like, well, it feels like Shane has a little bit of a reputation for getting guests on his channel.
yeah,
And it's knocking it up a notch at a time. And his authority is going up a little bit. Obviously, he must have some kind of influence or integrity or resilience to have an author on. Doesn't take no or whatever it is, doesn't cave in right away. So I'm slowly doing that for my own business, to just chip away at it and try and boost it up. That's
nice,
that's kind of my plan. But I got that out of the one-page marketing plan. Like I
nice,
said, it just evolves, because when you read all these other marketing books, it feels like your book is like a key that packages everything all together. Now you can think clear.
That's the idea. Yeah. Well, I'm really glad that came through. So, and for people listening, uh, I mean, a few years ago, before I had a book, before I had my list, before I had all of that stuff, I mean, I was starting at the bottom of the ladder as well. Nobody knew who I was. I had no authority. I had no influence or whatever. So really, a lot of the secret that people seek, it's really just longevity. It's just sticking around, doing the daily, weekly, monthly, and that's how you're going to get there. I was talking to another author and podcaster, Pat Flynn, recently, and he's just been grinding away at his podcast for over a decade now, and it's one of the top podcasts on the planet.
Oh, wow.
Same with another friend of mine, Omar Zenhome, whose podcast is the $100 MBA. We just had a celebration and a party for 10th year anniversary of his podcast, and he's just been grinding away 3 episodes a week. And in the beginning, it feels like there's not much traction, not much is happening. It feels discouraging, but you keep going for a long enough time, and it's kind of unreasonable for you not to succeed. So
Right. I
it's
like that.
that's really what it's about.
I love it. Okay. I have another question for you. Speaking of writing books, and you don't have to answer this if you don't want to.
Sure.
If you had 1,000 monkeys in a room, could they start with why?
Look, I don't have an issue with Simon, and I think he's a very intelligent person. I don't believe in the whole start with why philosophy. So yeah, I would not disparage Simon or start with why in any way, but really, the reason I say that is because in the book I talk about starting with why. The reason I had that in there is because so many times I've had either a coaching call or a call with somebody, and they're like, "Look, I'm stuck. I don't know my why," and I'm like, you know what? Don't worry about it. We know that it's great if you had a lot of passion. It's great if you had a big why or whatever. But really, don't worry about it. Let's get started with some opportunity you've got right now and do the daily, weekly, monthly, because not everybody has an amazing why or amazing amount of passion or whatever for something. So, and I've seen so many people just stuck on hey, I don't know my why. And I'm like, don't worry about it. Just get the daily, weekly, monthly stuff done, and you'll find something that lights you up and something that gives you a lot of passion. And even if you don't in your business or in your work, you're going to find something outside of that, and let the business and work just fund and fuel all of that.
Yep, I agree with that. And I've read that book as well, and I've watched some of his videos. And what I try to look at things, it's kind of like if you can spend too much time, like you said, in why and all these other things.
Yeah.
I didn't have enough time when I built this YouTube channel. I didn't have time to think about the why and stuff. But the motivating reason behind it was I wanted to document my journey. I wanted
Sure.
to document all my procedures and all these systems and be able to log it so that if I have someone else joining my business down the road, I could show them the videos and I could show them the process, especially if they want to be a sales guy, a marketer, whatever, working with me, that I don't have to start from scratch and say, oh man, you got to really know who I am. Okay, let's just have another meeting and let's talk
Yeah.
about it. Let's cast the vision. Let me cast the why. It's like, no, I got to document everything that I do, and then I can tweak it now.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
kind of how I approach this. And again, I'm not trying to slam Simon Sinek as well. It's a great book. My wife actually gave it to me. Here, you need your why.
Nice.
All right, so here's another one. If you couldn't do marketing anymore, what other career would you do?
I think I'd do something in sales, which is pretty close to entrepreneurship. So if I ever had to get a normal job or whatever, I'd do something with sales where I had a lot of upside based on my ability to sell and my ability to reach out to people. So yeah.
What about like, would you sell like vacuum cleaners or something? Or
I don't know if I'd sell vacuum cleaners. I'd find something very high value to sell, because selling a vacuum cleaner and selling a yacht is probably almost the
Mm,
same amount of effort, except the commission on a yacht is much higher than on a vacuum cleaner.
oh,
So
that's good.
I would find high value things to sell, mate, and do that.
Love it. Love it. All right. I thought maybe you might say breakdancing in the Olympics or something like that.
Maybe breakdancing in the Olympics, who knows? Couldn't be
Okay.
any worse than what's happening now. So.
Oh, I know. All right. Love it or hate it. YouTube.
I love it. I love it. I think YouTube is TV now. I mean, when I built this house that I'm in, I didn't even bother hooking up cable or anything external, because we've got a fiber optic internet, and almost anything I watch is going to be either on YouTube or Netflix or one of the streaming things. So I think YouTube is now TV. I mean, TV's been on a decline for a very long time, and a lot of people have never really watch kind of cable or whatever. The only thing outside of that is maybe sports or whatever, or something live. But even the news and things like that have moved to places like Twitter or X, and so yeah. I think I love YouTube. I probably watch hours every week. While I'm exercising. If I'm driving, I'll won't watch it obviously, but I'll listen to a podcast or something like that. So yeah, I love
Do
it.
you ever do you ever watch Joe Rogan?
I do. I do. I think Joe's a very intelligent guy. He's a great interviewer. I like those long format interviews that go
Mm-hmm.
into a lot of detail. So yeah.
I just watched one of his last episodes. Adam Sandler was on there,
Okay, I haven't seen that one.
and it was, I think, for me, it was one of my favorite podcasts that I watched Joe Rogan on. I thought it
Really?
was the most amazing podcast. And before, I was an okay fan of Adam Sandler,
Yeah.
but after watching it, I'm like, man, this guy is like, he's mega. Like, he is the best in the world when it comes to comedy. Like,
Yeah.
I had more respect for him after that
Okay.
long video, but I'd highly recommend it, like checking it
Okay.
out.
Oh,
What's interesting with Joe Rogan is, and you probably know this or heard it through the grapevine, that he used to be with Spotify.
yeah.
Uh, but then once his contract expired, he renegotiated his contract
Yeah.
so that he could be on there as well. But he had to have full capacity to be able to be on YouTube.
Yeah.
And so his first video, I think, right out of the gate was like 4 hours long, four
Yeah.
hours in length.
Yeah.
And Google has said that in the next 3-4 years, they plan on doubling their audience,
Yeah.
doubling it.
I believe it.
And YouTube has actually surpassed Google for the number one search engine in the world, which is kind
Yeah.
of cool because they own it. So
It
it's
is.
kind of interesting that you say that YouTube is a big deal. I
It is a big
agree.
deal.
I
And
think it
and
is.
it's great for long tail content, because I mean, you do a video today and it can last forever. Like people years from now will probably be watching this on YouTube, or finding it or whatever. Someone searches my name or your name or something related to the show. So yeah, I think it's a powerful platform.
This probably could be the most difficult question you'll ever get on a
Okay.
podcast.
Okay. Fair enough.
Favorite character on The Office?
Yeah, that is a hard one.
Because there's two versions, right? There's the British and
Yeah.
the American one. Which world are you?
I love both. I'd probably have to lean towards the British one. I love British humor. It's a lot more crude, particularly to
Mm-hmm.
an American audience. Yeah, I think I'd lean to the British one. Yeah, David Brent which is the Michael Scott
Yes.
uh,
Did
of the British one. I think that he's a
did
great
you
guy.
did you see the episode where they met?
Yes, I think that. Yes, I did see that one. Yes,
Like
in the elevator. I
in
think.
the
Yeah,
elevator. I
yeah,
thought my world just fell over when I
yeah.
saw
That was
it.
cool. That was cool.
It was like Captain Kirk meeting Jean-Luc Picard or something. I'm like,
It is.
what am I watching here? They should have had a series just on them two. That would have been great. All right, so yeah, I love Dwight and obviously Michael Scott. Like every time he says something that's awkward, I've probably been there as well somewhere.
Well, we've all been in that office environment with the sort of awkward boss and stupid meetings and all of that sort of stuff. So
Yeah,
yeah, I
yeah,
think it's
we've
very
all,
relatable.
and I think we appreciate that because we can be cringe. We can cringe for him and go, I would never say that. Look at that guy. But okay, so another tough question.
Sure.
Who goes to bed first, you or your wife, or at the same time?
90% of the time, I would say at the same time. Sometimes I'm up a little bit, and we've got just handling an email or whatever, or just don't feel like going to bed, and then I regret it the next day because I'm tired. So 90% of the time, we hit the sack about the same time. Yeah.
Nice, because it's very difficult as an entrepreneur to go to sleep at night when you got those emails and you got
Sure is.
one more thing to do. So my question would be maybe one piece of advice for solopreneurs. How do you turn business off at night?
Yeah, I mean, ideally, you don't do much with your business at night. You kind of wind down, you spend time with family and all of that. That's not always possible. Sometimes it's something that you need to handle or whatever, and sometimes it's okay to not turn off and just handle what you need to handle and don't feel guilt about it. You're doing what you need to do. So, but generally, I try to make it a habit where I get most of my big business tasks done in the morning, and
Nice.
then I'm in the afternoon. I like to exercise, focus on my body, spend time with family, all of that sort of stuff.
Yeah, no, that's good. I agree with that. We try to have a rule that we go to bed at approximately the same time, unless I'm just wrapping up something on Joe Rogan or something. I'm like, okay, I'll be up in 2 minutes as soon as, and then I just let it go, right?
Fair enough.
But I think it's important because solopreneurs, they basically they work 24 hours a day in their kitchen, like it's always
Totally.
on. They
I
can't switch it off.
totally agree.
So here's probably, I keep saying this is the most toughest question, but I'm telling you, they're getting tougher.
Okay.
What hasn't a podcast host asked you that you wish they had after you left? What is one question?
I mean, I've been on hundreds of podcasts now. I think I've been asked every conceivable question. So I can't really think of something that I wish someone had asked. I think pretty much everything that could have been asked, and sometimes stuff that I wish wasn't asked was asked.
That's
But it's
funny.
all good. It's all good.
Yeah. Well,
That's
we
why
get
I'm here, and I love speaking to podcasters and podcast audiences.
so no, that's good. Because sometimes, after you're done, especially for me, if I'm doing the interview, sometimes I go, oh, I wish I asked them this, or I wish I whatever.
Yeah,
So I try to ask you questions that maybe somebody else hasn't asked you,
sure.
and yet still tied in with your book. So when you mention long format like with Joe Rogan and your
Mm.
channel, um, what has been the longest podcast that you've been on? Like how
Uh,
long did you guys go?
I think probably the longest has been about maybe 90 minutes or so. I haven't done sort of the 2 3 hour ones. That may change in the longer 2 3 hour ones tend to be in person, and I haven't done many in person podcasts. But yeah, probably the longest I've been on has been maybe 90 minutes, something like that.
Do you prefer live or do you prefer something like this?
Um, Live is better, but it is a hassle to travel and stuff like that. So I'll tie it into other travel, and if I'm there, like unless it was like a massive podcast, I probably wouldn't travel specially for it. So, but yeah, most podcasts I've been able to do remotely and virtually, which was cool.
Yeah. No, that is cool. Like I have a little bit of a fetish for going live.
Nice.
I do that on my other channel, and I'm going to be doing a little bit more on this channel once I ramp up. The idea behind it is you could fail miserably in front of a bunch of people, and
Totally.
somehow that is kind of addictive in some ways, that you could either
Right.
smash it out of the park, or you could be like, oh man, stumbling, but you condition yourself to make it through. So would you ever do that more on your channel, like go more live? I know your schedule is kind of crazy, but is that
Mm.
something down the road that you're thinking about, or
Yeah,
not
I
just
don't think I'd do that for my podcast just because I like to get that edited really nicely. But I certainly go live in other formats. Like I'll do webinars pretty often, which are live. I speak live at events and things like that. So I get plenty of my live kick in
yes,
other
yes,
places. But
that's a good
yeah,
point, because you do live events in
I do.
person, which
I
is
do.
a whole nother world.
It is.
Speaking on here in front of, like last night, I had, I don't know, on my other channel, probably 1,000. It's called Black Swan Revelations. It's my other channel.
Yeah,
It's more of a religious tone. I talk about end times and all kinds of stuff on
for
there.
sure.
And by the end of the 2 hour, we probably had like almost 700 people, 800 people on it.
Wow.
So people would come and go. They come and go for the
Yeah.
full 2 hours of the show, and that's what I kind of like. And you get all kinds of, I'm telling you, you get all kinds of crazy questions. And I have a moderator that
Wow.
punts people. You know, if they say something bad or whatever, or something that's weird, just,
Yeah.
you know what? You're not respecting the people here.
Sure.
Punted, ejected, right?
Yeah. I know.
All right. So this is the last question. Last question. What's next? Another book coming down the pipes, you think?
Yeah,
Maybe?
look, I've got probably 3 or 4 book ideas in place. Nothing that I'm kind of settled on and that's fully baked yet. But yeah, I'm not working on one right now. So I may start, like I said, I'm in idea phase at the moment. Nothing that's kind of imminent. Probably the earliest another book would come out would be maybe 2026 if I did do another one. So, but yeah, it's just so much work and so much effort, and I've got a lot of other projects on at the moment.
So what does it take you, like 2 years to put a
Yeah,
book
with
together?
lean marketing was kind of the better part of 2 years. Yeah, so it's a big lift and it's a lot of effort and it's a lot of time. So I love it and I enjoy it, but I need it needs to be more than just, hey, I'm going to release another book. It needs to be a big idea that needs to go out there, and so right now I've got a few that I've got in my mind, but nothing that's really fully formed, and nothing that I'm at this point where, hey, it needs to be out there right now.
Right, nothing that just jumps out. I know what some people do is they continue the series like that they started. Like
Mm,
if it's one page, maybe it's 2 page marketing plan, or maybe whatever, right? Like there's always,
yeah,
seems like there's room to grow within inside your
yeah,
own particular niche, right?
yeah, for sure.
But no, you know what? I absolutely appreciate your time
Oh,
on
my pleasure.
here. If there's anything, any piece of advice that you can give to solopreneurs, this is one of my favorite books as well, right here. I always keep it
Okay,
at my
nice,
side, The Black Swan,
nice.
because there's lots of. I feel like this is kind of a black swan as well in some ways, where you don't know where you're going to be the next day. You really don't.
True.
You could have someone either on your channel, or you could read a book, and all of a sudden something opens up, a business idea or whatever, that causes you to go in another direction. And if you didn't read that book, or talk to that person or whatever, it would have never happened.
Yeah, for sure. I
Never
agree.
happened. And it's kind of like this, like the Black Swan event. Basically, you think of 9/11. The world's not was never the same after nine
True.
11 It changed.
True.
So what would be one thing that you could say to entrepreneurs that that if you want to glean it from the one page marketing plan or from lean
Yeah.
marketing, what is one place that
Yeah.
you can help people with?
What I mean, obviously, the thing that I would share with people, obviously, or maybe not obviously, but is to get good at marketing, because almost no other skill in business matters as much as your ability to get an ideal customer in the door reliably, systematically, in a way that's cost effective. So if you learn that, almost everything else in your business will start to fall in place. So that's kind of the master skill of business, and it's something that I recommend everybody spend some time to get better at.
I like it. So is this the best place to go
It
if they
is.
want to? Because I know you can buy this book, I believe, on your website. I bought it in Indigo because I was trying to buy physically the one page marketing plan, but they didn't have any there. They were sold
Oh,
out.
wow.
And then that's when I reached out to you. And I think the book is on transit, if you will. There's an
Yep.
author
Yep.
or an autographed book coming,
Yep.
which thank you. I'll be showing it off the second I get it.
My
Just
pleasure.
it seems like it just takes forever from America to
Yeah.
Canada. Like it's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
So if they want to pick up the one page marketing plan or they want to get lean marketing, Amazon, Audible, like I have all three. I have this
Yeah.
here. I have this also on Kindle.
Yeah.
And then I also have it on Audible as well because I like to sometimes I read faster on here,
I agree.
but I also like to highlight stuff as well with my highlighter and just kind of go through it a little bit at a time and just kind of highlight little bits here and there in a physical format, and then I put it in my library because
I
that's
agree.
I'm proud of that. So, what would be where would be the best place for them to go
Yeah,
to get
all the
these
places you
books?
mentioned, Amazon, Audible. A lot of people love listening to the book, so on Audible, both books are available. They're available on Kindle. So yeah, they're all the right places to go.
Cool, cool. Thank you very much. I really appreciate your time.
My
Appreciate your
pleasure.
time. Love your books, and I'll
Very much.
continue to follow your. So the best podcast would be, or the best YouTube channel would be Lean Marketing, right? That's your main.
Yeah, that's my
That's
main
your
channel.
main
Yeah, so
main channel
lean
too.
marketing. Yeah, and
Okay.
if you can get the one page marketing plan canvas at leanmarketing.com, and yeah, I'd love to connect with anyone in your audience.
Awesome. Thank you. I really appreciate you. If you don't mind hanging around in the back, I'll
Sure.
just end recording here.
Okay.
Thanks again. And we will see you guys in another video.